Thank you for joining us this morning. On behalf of Mac, Redington, and Microsoft, I would like to welcome you all to this webinar titled Compliance Management Made Easy with Regtech Solutions. As our attendees are joining in, I would like to remind everyone that this session will be recorded, so please, your mics would be muted. But please do use the question and answer bar to drop any questions or comments that you may have during this session. I would like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy Ramadan, especially as we have entered the last 10 days of this blessed month. We are all globally also in a lockdown situation for more than 7 weeks now. While we have all seen some positives from this situation, we continue to face some challenges as well. It has become imperative for all of us to adopt robust IT solutions in our personal and business operations. And on this note, I am both happy and proud to say that Mac has been adopting this digital innovation through its innovation lab for more than 2 years now. Mac has been established in UAE for over 35 years, specializing in audit, tax, risk, and advisory. Our first presenter this morning, Mr. Narsimha Das, has over 35 years of experience in regulatory and compliance matters, and I'm happy to say that he has personally overseen the development of this tool, Assist, which we will be looking into depth this morning. I will now pass on to Mr. Das to begin this webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Rifat, for the nice introduction. I straight away start today's topic that's about our innovative solution relating to compliance management. Now, even before I start, let me give a more detailed introduction to Crow. Crow Global is a global professional network of firms headquartered in New York, and we are present in more than 130 countries with 800 offices across the globe. And in UAE, we have about 6 offices, and then we have got a substantial presence since 1981. That was the 8th largest global accounting network in the world. When you look at the EMEA region, in the EMEA region itself, we have substantial presence, and then we operate in 81 countries with 376 offices. Now we have got a wide range of specialty practices, audit, tax.
Sorry, sir, are you saying?
Pardon, I couldn't listen.
Are you sharing your screen?
Hello?
Hello? Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah.
We can't see your screen. Can you reshare, please?
Let me try again.
Yes.
Are you able to see? Okay. Right. So these are the various specialty practice areas we have. Audit. Under audit, we've got a wide range of audit-related services, tax, advisory, and risk. My specialty is regulatory and compliance risk, and a bit of operational risk. These are the areas where I specialize in. And then the various services come under that, including the compliance risk management comes under this particular specialty practice. Now, straight away going to the current situation, and then as markets are opening up and then businesses have to restart. Now, these appear to be the post COVID situation, at least next 18 to 24 months before everybody is vaccinated. And by that time, probably we'll get used to this type of system. They probably we may not go back to, again, the traditional way of doing things. So it's going to be a permanent change. One, of course, the remote working. All of us are now used to that. Virtual meetings, just as the meeting today. Paperless communication and automated workflow. Actually, this has started quite a few years ago. And then even prior to COVID, also there was a prediction that the technology is going to ultimately disrupt the way in which business is being done, and blockchain and so many other technologies have already started getting into commercial thing. And UAE, Dubai itself has a smart Dubai vision of making it paperless, government paperless by 2021. Only thing what happened is COVID situations accelerated the things. Now, from a regulatory perspective, there are a wide range of regulations and they are growing. I have picked up a few sample regulations and I'll try to explain, the logic behind it. Every entity, wherever it is governed by company law, and if it's a partnership, it's governed by partnership law or some other law, the local law, and it has a registration. And normally, the registrar, whoever is registered, expects certain returns to file, like audit report, or annual license renewal, and all these things. And if you take UAE, for example, there are 39 registries and across several free zones, and then across Emirates. So each one is a registrar of company which will register companies and other legal entities. And depending on the free zone and depending on the emirate, certain local procedures differ, and also company law provisions also slightly differ if it is a free zone, depending on the free zone. And it could be an offshore company, then it's offshore, rack offshore, then they follow a slightly different set of company law. While the underlying principles remain same, the company law requirements for the purpose of regulatory compliance changes depending on the company, whether it's a public company or a publicly listed company or a private company or it's a partnership. Depending on that, the regulatory compliances differ. There have been a lot of enhancements in company law. If you take UAE, virtually right from 2015 onwards, almost it's a revamping of company law that's done. It started with the commercial company law 2 of 2015. And then every free zone has amended some company law or regulations. And the DAFC has brought in substantial amendments. In fact, virtually replaced the earlier company law. Similar things you see in ADGM. Like that, if you take just UAE alone, there have been substantial revamping of the company law related matters. There were many reasons as to why transparency became very important. And one particular issue was, while on the face of the record of a company, certain persons may appear as managers or directors, but in reality, they are being controlled by some other people. So worldwide, the standards have come, which has resulted in regulations in many jurisdictions. These are called disclosure of ultimate beneficial ownership. And every company or every legal entity is required to maintain the ultimate beneficial ownership details and registers probably as part of their corporate records. In addition to that, OECD, mandated by G20, actually came up with a huge set of reforms. These are called BEPS, base erosion, profit shifting. Essentially, the issue was whether right tax is being paid in right jurisdiction or not, or whether the companies or businesses are taking advantage of different tax structures or tax regimes prevalent in different countries or regions, and they are trying to avoid the tax or evade the tax. So this has resulted in OECD coming with 15 action points, out of which the multilateral arrangements required every country to implement common reporting standards. These are certain disclosure requirements relating to the non-resident ownership of a particular entity. And this was followed by economic substance regulations currently in UAE, effective from 30th April 2019. A regulation has come, Regulation 31 of 2019. These economic substance regulations have been implemented in 12 jurisdictions which have been identified as tax havens. On top of it, FATF, Financial Action Task Force, has brought in a lot of reforms, and then on account of its mandate, now it is compelling by way of some mutual evaluations and some others, and rather virtually directing the various countries to follow certain anti-money laundering standards. And then on top of it, you got United States of America, which has got extraterritorial legislations. That means the legislation which have implications which go far beyond the territory of USA, like Patriot Act and other acts. And then USA has its own sanctions regime, and then the sanctions regime has two parts. One is primary sanctions and the secondary sanctions. And then certain violations, if they are there, then there's a potential risk of secondary sanctions kicking in. Why I gave a brief of this is very important in terms of compliance to understand the current regulatory environment. It is dynamic and it keeps on changing. And it is always changing towards more stringent and more compliant regime only. There will not be any change so far as the regulations are concerned. The post-COVID situation will not result in relaxation of any regulations, because these regulations have been promulgated after a lot of discussions relating to tax evasion, financial crime, and so many other aspects. So there's no likelihood of these being relaxed merely because the COVID has come or some depression or some recession is anticipated. So the regulatory responsibilities will remain same post-COVID situation as well. Now, what are those expectations broadly across this thing? One is the regulator expect very transparent communication with them, and they expect all records to be maintained in a proper manner. For example, the tax authority would like to see even records up to 6 years prior to the filing year, and then they want every transaction to be properly maintained in a proper manner. This is almost across the globe, depending on, there may be slight variation, but across the globe, more or less the expectations of regulators are same. Then accountability. When it comes to accountability, actually there's a growing trend of making the directors, senior management, and other managerial personnel, or even the ultimate beneficial or shareholders, personally accountable for the acts of the company. Initially, when the concept of company has started, the legal theory behind that was an individual is different from a company. The company's liabilities are distinct from those of the individuals who comprise shareholders and others. Gradually, it has led to a situation where the law started saying, okay, that's all fine, but in appropriate conditions, the courts or relevant regulators can apply doctrine of lifting the corporate wheel and see who is the person behind it, and if that person is responsible for certain criminal actions, they get it. Now, gradually, this doctrine of lifting the corporate wheel is being replaced by a situation where irrespective of the corporate structure or corporate personality of any entity, the individuals also are responsible. Several acts, for example, anti-money laundering legislation, or several legislations actually impose personal liabilities on directors, senior management. So the regulatory expectations in terms of accountability is increasing day by day. Then another thing, the timeliness. The timeliness of response counts a lot. And then the regulators also expect, on account of various reasons, a very prompt response whenever a particular query they want to investigate. In addition to that, there are certain timelines, deadlines within which certain returns have to be filed, or certain actions, corporate actions need to be taken. So the timeliness is one expectation, and there is not any relaxation. Maybe first in the initial period of 6 months post-COVID, there may be some filing deadlines may be extended, nothing beyond that. And traceability. Now, virtually everywhere in the world, it has been almost, it's become a norm that the record retention period is anywhere between 5 to 10 years, depending on the nature of the legislation. And then the records, the level of records to be maintained is increasing day by day. For example, if you take the economic substance regulations in UAE, they touch upon the director qualifications, and they expect the company to maintain the full record of direct qualifications and everything for a period of 6 years at least. So like that, and then every tax legislation or every other legislation, including anti-money laundering, and then probably the banks, they keep on asking information relating to transactions which may have happened a year or 2 years ago. So for maintaining traceability, it is absolutely necessary that a complete audit trail of every transaction or every action is properly maintained. This is another regulatory expectation. This is growing day by day. See, while the regulatory expectations are like that, these expectations and the continuous evolution of the changing of landscape is posing a lot of challenges to business operations. One, cost. The compliance or the maintenance of records and all these things are traditionally considered cost centers. Of course, they may have a benefit in the sense that they may avoid a particular risk or a liability. Otherwise, essentially, every business has to spend some money in actually complying with these things. And post-COVID situation, in fact, the cost is going to be a very major element in the decision making. And earlier also it was, but now it is going to increase a lot. Then, access to information and records. I have a small case study. Next, I'll also deal with that. But timely access to information and records is a big challenge because staff keep on changing, and then it may be there in some, even some persons using this thing Dropbox or OneDrive or a cloud platform also. It all depends on how he has named that file or where he has saved it and where is that. And emails, no doubt emails can be saved or available on cloud, but tracing a particular transaction email also requires a lot of effort. And sometimes, people may not be able to trace it also. So the access to information records, particularly when the regulators expect that certain things to be done in a particular timely manner, it becomes a challenge. Then accuracy of information. We have seen quite often that, the clients may sometimes have different versions of a particular document. When that person leaves and another person comes, then he doesn't understand which one is the latest one or which one is the latest one on which he can rely on, because there are 2-3 versions of the same document. Starting from there, the accuracy of information, while the regulatory expectations are increasing, that if you don't provide accurate information, that will be considered as an offense for which certain punishments are possible. The tracing information accurately is becoming a big challenge. So as I said, when people change, or sometimes there may be acquisition, there may be part merger or part disposal of certain company business or assets, there is every likelihood of I mean, getting this information or records become more difficult on account of this. Then, as I said, record retention requirements, anywhere between 5 to 10 years, the records have to maintain depending on the applicable legislation. Then meeting the filing deadlines, this is another challenge. So providing prompt response to regulatory queries, okay, we understand. Even business partners also. Nowadays, business partners, on account of their regulatory requirements in different jurisdictions, they ask a lot of information. Our banks, financial institutions, they ask a lot of informations and confirmations to keep their compliance records up to date. And if that information is not provided in timely manner, the banks will simply put a stop to the account operations till such time the records are provided. So let us take an example. In this example, in fact, assume for a moment that there is a one particular group of companies. They have got global operations, Middle East, Africa, North America, and different places. So as you are aware, for each business to operate in a particular country, they need a license. For that license, they need to necessarily establish a local company there. And then there will be local management which actually manages that particular project or that particular business operation in that country. And there are certain licensing, registration, so many other requirements of that particular company. But at a group level, in fact, the owners and the directors and senior management will actually manage, direct and control. And there are many aspects which require approvals at group level. So the group headquarters plays a major role in terms of this directing and managing and controlling this particular group of companies. When it comes to compliance with laws and regulations, typically at group headquarters or at those places, there will be one or two staff who, if it is a financial institution, it may be designated compliance officer. If not, the HR head or some finance head or somebody else will be looking into these things like license renewals, returns, and all those things. In addition to that, he will be looking into a lot of other functions as well, and he will have maybe one secretary or two secretary looking into that. This can potentially cause a lot of risks because of the global operations and then ever-changing regulations. Certain records may not be up to date. I have seen instances where for certain group companies, in fact, no meetings, no board meetings, nothing was held over a period of time, and then that itself causing a lot of problem. And then for all these things, in fact, the shareholders, directors, and senior management, these are the people who will be responsible for it. So take a typical situation of group of companies. Even otherwise also, if you take UAE, for example, in UAE, if you want to conduct a business in Abu Dhabi, you need a company in Abu Dhabi. If you want to conduct a business in Sharjah, you require a company in Sharjah. Like that, we have seen in UAE also, with a common ownership, different companies being established at different free zones or different emirates. So it is quite common nowadays to have a group of companies depending on the diversification, business diversification, or local regulatory requirements, or maybe it's a combination of both. So, but in reality, what happens is that this is only same desk that is managing all the compliance. They will have letterheads of all the companies in front of them, and depending on that particular company, they will just take out that particular letterhead and then type it out and then sign it. The same person will be doing it, but it's a group of companies. So now, when it comes to this type of group companies, identification and listing of all regulatory compliance reporting requirements of all jurisdictions and maintaining a comprehensive list of them is itself a challenge because there are only one person or one or two persons who are managing. And then the monthly review of documentation, confirmation whether compliance requirements have been met, or are there any gaps, and then remedial measures and all this. So basically, many cases, what we find is that instead of they maintaining their own staff, they will engage a professional service provider like us, and then they will ask us to probably do this. For us also to maintain, sitting in Dubai, maintaining all these things is very difficult if you try to do it more manually. So there are quite a few challenges that arise in this particular thing. The multinational compliance requirements. So we need a solution which should have all in one place without any geographical limitations. And there should be seamless communications because the local business owners or business management is different from the headquarters. So there should be one platform which would provide for which can be accessed by multiple people sitting in different jurisdictions. So that is one requirement. And a single person should be able to actually access full company information of each one of the companies, so that the accessibility should be a one-click kind of a thing. And then in addition to the compliance risk management, the analysis, the generating risk register, automated emails, and so many other things will come into place. Because for compliance calendar, there's a need to have an automated emails to relevant people so that the timely compliance can be achieved. And in addition to that, there should be regular reporting to the management board so that there's a confirmation to them that everything is in order. So we require a solution which should be far beyond an email or other way of communication, which should be simple. And another aspect is the cost needs to be taken into consideration. And then the cost has two elements. One, of course, the cost of the platform or whatever it is. And another aspect is, if you are able to delegate the work to a lower level employee, the time cost of a particular service or a particular aspect of a compliance will be lower. So that we should be able to achieve it efficiently. So taking all these challenges into consideration, we have developed an in-house solution. This in-house solution operates on Microsoft Azure, and any entity or any person who has a connection or who is authorized, duly authorized and has a connection can access this from anywhere in the world. It is screen adaptable, and what I mean by screen adaptable is that you can view it by using a tablet or a mobile or a desktop. So this particular solution, in the later part of this particular webinar, we are going to show a demo of that, has different sections. It has sections like company information. The company information captures all information, including tax return date, and then including the ultimate beneficial ownership, full information, their passport details, everything, directors, senior management, other signatories. Every particular detail is captured. What we have done here is we made all fields non-mandatory. The reason is sometimes, for example, in UAE, there is no postal code. You have got only PO box number. Or like that, depending on the jurisdiction, in fact, the certain information may not be required. Or if it is financial service company, then one particular type of information is required. And if it is non-financial services, then another type of information may be required. So we made it very non-mandatory so that each one of the fields can be filled in as long as the ultimate legislative purpose is. And then, so we have made it very, very generic kind of a thing. It's more for convenience and ease of operation. And multiple companies information can be uploaded. For that, we have feature of just populating in an Excel and then just uploading it. So all the company's information gets segregated and uploaded with separate tabs. Any single person who's actually has the authorization to function as a company secretary or a compliance professional, similar role, can access those company information in a very, very easy manner with a single click. Then we have another feature called service request. Essentially, what happens is that while whether it is centralized function sitting in a particular corporate office or whether a service provider like us, we need to interact with the various departments to get a lot of information and then raise requests on them to get the information. Are they requesting us? For example, uh, suppose we are the company secretary for a particular company and the company has a change of directors. So they should be in a position to immediately click a button and then just upload and say that Mr. X has changed, please replace by Y. Then we should be, then we'll see the information available with us, and then we might say that we require a latest passport copy or something else. Then we should be able to respond. All happening on the same platform, and without switching between email here, there, and everywhere. And this is another feature of keeping updated status of service request. And then once the service request is completed, it will move to history of requests. So over a period of years, also anybody new who is coming also while looking at the history, they will know what has happened earlier and what are the things that are pending, and then what needs to be done. Then you have the meetings. Every company is supposed to have its own meetings, set an agenda, minutes, and then it could be annual general meeting, it could be directors meeting, or it could be some other senior management meeting as well. So as long as it has some relevance to compliance in this thing, we have features here which will allow very easy way of organizing the meetings and then circulating the minutes, agenda, and all these things, and seeking approvals and sign off. Then we have record section where it is very convenient to keep records in folders. And not only that, we have provided ability for the folders to have their own passwords, because we had a feedback that a finance department would not like the another department look at finance records. So they can have their own password there. So like that, certain features have been built into that. The compliance calendar, which actually takes care of not only the regulatory compliance dates, but internal deadlines and various other things. And it is an automated alert system, which will immediately generate emails depending on the deadlines. Then the report generation feature, for example, how many service requests are pending or what is happening, and that type of thing, reports can be generated. And then we have templates. On many occasions, what we observed is that a simple board resolution or simple power of attorney or some other document, the person in the field actually struggles to get that. I mean, when he's operating and then he wants to understand what's the standard template, it will be a simple template of just filling up a few fields. But for him, it's a big challenge. So if a ready-made template is available, creating the other document becomes easier. In many cases, just filling in the blanks, or in some cases, maybe tweaking it slightly customizable. So ready-made templates and everything should be readily available. So we thought we have kept all these features in a very, very simple solution, which we call it as Crow Assist. So this has this thing in the center column. We try to show what Crow Assist is, and the interface is provided in such a way that client authorized persons at the client end will have an access, and the compliance professional will have an access. Of course, there's a admin access also is there, which actually our help desk controls. But if an entity wants a complete licensing of software, then that's a different thing we can consider. So it provides the two-way communication happening continuously on this platform from different ends. So we have put a very, very simple, this thing is fully customizable. Why we have put a fully customizable is we understand that depending on the company law requirements and several other requirements, group policies, there are several aspects that need to be, that they should be able to plug in or customize. So the whole thing can be customized depending on the requirements. and it's scalable because Azure provides for a database and the cost depending on the usage. So it can be, and then it can be to multiple companies, it can be a single company, it can be group companies in different jurisdictions or same jurisdiction, or it could be partnership, or it could be any other entity. But this platform applies to all. So we are not put a real engine behind then on account of the complexity of this kind of situation. Where suppose we put all company rules, they may not apply to a partnership. Or if you take, for example, UAE, the offshore rules may be different track offshore rules. So, I mean, it's impractical to have so many rules built in and then building a lot of confusion into it, thereby increasing the cost of the software. So of course, technology is available. Artificial intelligence is there, so many things are there, but the more features you add in, the cost will be more and it doesn't worth it. So that's the reason we try to keep it simple and fully customizable and scalable. So suitable for all type of companies, what we mean, all type of legal entities. In fact, there's no distinction. And scheduling meetings, agenda, and all these things are there, automated alerts, as I said, report generation, and then company information, all on one platform. It's a very, very simple platform to use. And this has provided us convenience in terms of we delegating work to our junior staff in terms of doing this. So this actually brings in a lot of efficiency also. So it's very user friendly. I mean, the moment you get acquainted, you will find it this thing, and then the standard templates available, and we can all, because the advantage what we have is we come with a huge advisory background. We are not a technology company which built this software. It is an advisory company, and audit, risk, and so many other things. We have practical experience. We converted that experience into this platform. So we always ensure that it's very convenient and user friendly, and also it meets different types of situations, and we are very conscious of costs as well. So we try to keep the cost very low, and you will be surprised to know once you start using it, the cost versus efficiency or benefit will be tremendous. So thank you. I'll just start my presentation at this stage. Any questions? Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Das, for that presentation. It was definitely very insightful. We have got to know that the regulatory expectations are going up every day. It has become more demanding and more challenging to meet. And to have a solution such as the one that you just showcased would be the need of this time and is ever evolving. And we are adapting this as well as you have shown. So this is very good. And I guess everyone will be happy to note that this is a very cost-effective solution as well. And I think at this stage, we will move on to Mahmoud so that he can tell us more about the Azure platform and how it can really scale this and how we have no barriers in terms of size, in terms of other things to limit ourselves. We will look into that and then still see the demo, and we will come back to any Q&As at the end. Thank you. I'll move on, pass on to Mahmoud.
Thank Rifat. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mahmoud. I am from Redington, Gulf. I'll just give you a quick overview of who's Redington and what are we trying to achieve here. So I handle Microsoft Azure business in Redington, and Redington is an IT distribution company, and we are present in so many countries across Middle East and Africa, as you can see on the screen. And we have more than 42 entities, 81 brands, 1,500 employees, and 27 markets. Our main job in the market is to develop the channel, to develop the companies who want to adopt technologies and provide them with the best practices. So if I will give an example about our partner Chromac that we are currently talking about their solution. So nowadays a lot of people have their own ideas, they have their own businesses, but nowadays everything has to be translated into technology. And the reason that you have to transform and adopt technology is that world is changing so fast. The requirements and demands of customers and organizations is increasing also very fast. So you have to make sure as a company who's providing a service that you're up to date and you're innovative and you have a lot of good solutions to your customers that can give them a lot of benefits. So our job here is to help Chromac to adopt technology, to develop their product and services and reach out to the market while giving them the best practices as per the technology. So when we are talking about cloud, before I talk more about cloud computing, I just wanted to highlight one thing. I've been working in cloud since the last 4 years. Since almost the SaaS model started, like Office 365 and these licenses, and especially in the last 2 years, the adopting of infrastructure as a service started to increase more and more. But still, a lot of people, especially in Middle East market, are a little bit pushy when it comes to this kind of technologies, because people are not used to any new technology and it takes time. Also in our region in Middle East, people are very concerned about security and compliances and regulations. So with the current situation of COVID-19 issue, I have seen personally that the adopting of cloud computing has increased more than the small example. If you look in the news or you read on LinkedIn, you will see that Microsoft business, when it comes to Team, for example, Microsoft Teams consumption has increased more than 400 to 600%. When it comes to Microsoft Azure, the consumption and the adaptation of customers increased by more than 200 and 300%. The reason is that people in the current situation, there is two things that a lot of requirements come up, because especially people are coming, working remotely. So a lot of new ideas are coming. Companies want to host new services to give to their employees and their customers because their current data center is not operating or they are not at office. And the second reason is that nowadays, when you have any new project, it is very difficult to implement this project on on-premise data center because one, people are not working from office, and two, it is very hard to buy new hardware and deliver this hardware, and this process takes a lot of time also. So these reasons made people realize that cloud computing is very important for us, and it is very important also to understand what is the main features of cloud and why people are moving to it. And also the most important thing is, my data is safe. Am I following my companies on the country's regulation and policies or not? And this is the reason I'm going to talk here about cloud computing. Simply, Chromax solution is hosted on Microsoft Azure. So any customer who will be using the solution will be putting his data on public cloud. So we just want to make sure that any customer who will be interested in Chromax solution and he will go ahead and move forward with their solutions, we will make sure 100% that his data is completely safe. As I said, the adopting of cloud computing is increasing fast, and one of the main reasons of this is optimizing the existing cloud use, and the cost saving is really good when it comes to comparing this to an on-premise environment. And second thing is the time that it takes to implement a solution on a public cloud is very short time period. It takes less than a couple of days if you know your requirement. If you want to do this same on an on-premise environment and buy everything from scratch, we all know it will take at least 4 to 6 weeks just to buy the hardware. And to implement this also, it will take time. So as all the reports are saying that the adopting is increasing and the number of companies who are moving to cloud is increasing time by time. This is an overview of the current data centers that Microsoft has across the globe. I think the number now also is more than 50, is around 56. As we know, there is 2 data centers that Microsoft currently have in UAE. One is in Dubai and one is in Abu Dhabi, and Microsoft is the only public cloud vendor who have a local data center in UAE. And this is one of the most important aspects that people always ask, because the most question that people ask me when I talk about Microsoft Azure to any partner or any customer, where is my data? So one of the main challenges for public cloud vendors that used to be in the past couple of years that they don't have a local presence. And since Microsoft had a local presence in the last 1 year, I have seen clearly that adopting cloud computing has increased very fast. And this is also one of the reasons that made a company like Chromac want to adopt cloud computing, because dealing with regulations, dealing with financial sector, it is very important to make sure that data residency is there. So here, when we talk about Chromac solution, we have to understand that the local data residency is one of the main aspects that we are talking about. This is an overview of Microsoft services or Microsoft Azure services. And again, one of the most important things when we talk about public cloud or when we talk about cloud computing is the number of services which are available. When we talk about a local cloud or an on-premise data center, we will always have the resources as in the hardware and the software, but we will never have this number of services. If, for example, I want to build a machine learning environment or an IoT environment or a database server, I have to build everything from scratch. While in Microsoft, you have different flavors to adopt cloud computing. So you have the infrastructure as a service where, as an example, if you want to build a machine learning server, you have to build the server and then you have to install the software and build everything from scratch. Still, it takes a less amount of hours compared to doing this on-premise, but it still consumes time. While on Microsoft Azure, there is something called platform as a service, where, for example, if you want to build a SQL server on cloud, you have a couple of options. One is to build everything from scratch, and the other one is to use a platform as a service where you can use SQL Server as a service. So it consumes time, it saves time, and also it reduced the cost of implementing the services. So the reason I'm talking about this, that when Chromac wanted to host their solution, they wanted to make sure that they are following the latest technology. And cloud computing is one of the easiest and the most successful ways of adopting the latest technologies. If you want to talk about the top 5 ISVs or technology companies who are providing services as a technology to end customers, they are all hosted on public cloud. So if we talk, for example, about something like Netflix, about Uber or Careem, about Zomato, all these companies, their solutions are hosted on public cloud. And the reason is that they can easily adopt the latest technologies. When it comes to security, this is an overview of how Microsoft secure their data center. And when I talk about security, there is a couple of things I want you to understand, that there is 2 parts, or always the public cloud providers, they always talk about something called the share model responsibility or the sharing responsibility. Sharing responsibility means that there is a responsibility that a public cloud provider like Microsoft has, and there is a responsibility that someone like a customer or someone like Chromac will have. So, and this is a very important thing, because a lot of people thinks that, okay, when I move to public cloud, I don't need to buy any security solutions, or I don't need to secure my data because Microsoft is taking care of that, which is not correct. The reason is, of course, this implementing or adopting cloud computing reduces your responsibility when it comes to cloud. But the idea is that you have to understand what is Microsoft's responsibility and what is your responsibility. So as you can see here, there is 4 layers. The first layer is the physical servers. And on the physical server, you need cameras, you need security stuff, you need barriers and fencing and all this. And this is something that Microsoft take care on our behalf. The second part is the infrastructure, which again Microsoft take care of. So here you need to secure the design, you need the operation security, you need the compliance certifications, you need penetration testing. And again, this is something that Microsoft takes care of. Networking, similarly, Microsoft handles all the security aspects, even till the virtual machine or the application. Microsoft takes care of the security of this part. So the only thing which is missing here will be the data. So Microsoft tells you the infrastructure is our responsibility and the data is your responsibility. The reason is that once you are using Microsoft Azure, in some point of time, the data has to get out of Microsoft data center. And once this happens, it becomes your responsibility. So that's why when you when any basic requirement comes on a public cloud, the first thing that the customer think about that I need to secure my data, and one of the first security aspects that customers always think about is something like a web application firewall or application gateway if you are using a website, to make sure that once your data exits Microsoft to go to your customer or to your employees and go back to Microsoft, this tunnel is secure. So when you think about it, first of all, the cost of securing your environment is almost reduced by 70%, if it's not more. So it reduced the cost, and second, also it reduced the responsibility. And when people say, how can I make sure that Microsoft will secure data in a proper way? I will simply tell you that a company who spend only billions of dollars just for security. And we all know that in the current days, there is new threats that comes to each and every organization every few days. And to be able to follow this as an organization, you need to spend a lot of money in order to be able to secure your environment, secure your data, and you have to keep up to date. And this is a very expensive thing to follow. Even big companies and big organizations cannot afford, following all the security aspects that Microsoft is following. So I'll go to the next part where people talk about one of the other security aspects, which is governance, compliance, and all this. So a built-in part of Microsoft Azure that they always give you a lot of free solutions that you can use to monitor your environment, to monitor your compliance, to monitor your regulations, and always keep giving you recommendations on how can you follow the compliances, the best practices, and so on. So when we talk especially about compliances and regulations, a lot of customers ask that my company, for example, is from financial sector, or my company is from healthcare sector. How can I make sure that my data is safe and I'm following the best practices and I'm following the right regulations and compliances? The answer here is very easy, that for building any data center, even if it's on-premise, you have to be following certain regulations, certain compliances. One of the most famous things that came recently is the GDPR. A lot of companies who have presence in Europe, they need to follow the GDPR. And we all know that following all these compliances and regulations is not cheap also, and it's not easy. So Microsoft makes sure that all the compliances within your region and also within your sector or industry is followed, even the global ones. So the easiest way to know that, and I'm sure that a lot of attendees here are, from compliance department, from finance, and even from PFSI sector. So one of the most important aspects is to follow your regulations. And in order to understand that, Microsoft gives you a complete information about the compliances and regulations. And the screen that you can see now is a small example of that. While you can access it by yourself, you can easily go to Google and write Microsoft Trust Center. And once you're there, you will find the first page will come up. In this page, as a company, you can choose your region, you can choose your industry, and it will show you in each region and per industry how many compliances and what are the followed compliances and regulations. And this will make you feel safe and trust putting your data on Microsoft data center. And you will make sure that you're following your own rules and regulations. Also on such a website, you will find a lot of case studies of local firms who are using cloud. And I have seen personally a lot of organizations like banks and governments who are now moving slowly to Azure. Of course, it's a journey, but the adopting the cloud computing have started. And this is one of the main things that made Crow take a decision to host their application on Microsoft Azure, because it makes it better for each one of us, because now as a company, we don't need to think much about technology, because technology now became for us as a service, while we should think about how can we utilize this technology to be on our side and to help us to improve our business and increase our profitability. So that's it from my side. I hope that I covered all the points when it comes to security and regulations. Please let me know if you have any other questions. And thank you.
Thank you, Mahmoud, for that briefing. When listening to you, it reminded me of one of the quotes of our great ruler, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, that we must always try to achieve the impossible and direct your people to ways of achieving it. And this is definitely true with our partnership with Redington. We are so happy, so proud with this to be partners with such a vast company with such a backing, and who's ever helping us in this ever evolving market to be at the top of our game. We are also very pleased to see that your slide, which was on trust and control, was very insightful. It gave our minds a lot of peace. I'm sure all the attendees will agree with me, because with these cloud computing or SQL Server or IIS or SAS model, this is where we need partners like yourselves with us who can always keep us ahead. I will now pass to Shreyansh, who will give us a very insightful demo towards this innovation tool. And please, I would like to remind everyone to continue posting any questions that they have on the Q&A panel, and we shall address them at the end of this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So, good morning, everyone. I'll be sharing my screen for the demo purpose. I hope you can see my screen. So, in my screen is Crow Assist. Crow Assist is an innovative Regtech solution developed by Crow. So, it has basically two user types. One being compliance or company secretary professional, and the second one being a client or a user who opts for these services. For the demo, I'll be logging in as company secretary. When I log in as company secretary, in the portal, I have an option of creating a new company, viewing a company, view all the company notifications. This is essential when there are multiple group companies under me. I can view all the notifications relating to each member of the group company, irrespective of its jurisdiction. I can import from XLS. This allows me an opportunity to upload multiple company in a single moment to the portal via an Excel sheet. In addition to it, I have an admin access that is currently limited to Crow IT and Advisory Desk. For the demo, I'll go on to view an existing company. I have chosen Crow UAE for the demo. You can see on the screen the user, as soon as the user logs in, the screen presents a dashboard to the user. Dashboard contains all the company related notifications in a single place, be it any coming compliance deadline, requests from clients, or any other company notification that needs to be displayed. Crow Assist has mainly 6 main features. The first one is company information, service request, meetings, records, compliance calendar, and templates. The portal allows an additional feature of adding an senior level approval if required. So when a senior level approval is added, each and every operation in the portal is first verified by a senior level approval. Then once verified, it goes to client for verification. Moving on to company information, the user have an option of viewing all the company information at one place, be it account name, former name, annual return filing date, details of share capital membership interest, address information, registration detail, account share membership interest details, shareholder member details, activities, company relationship, employee relationship, compliance details, and many other details. These details can be either directly entered into the portal or can be uploaded via an Excel sheet. Users have an option of saving this as a draft for future use or sending this information for approval to senior professional if there is any, or client verification. Once the information is verified by the client, it is then ready to be used in the portal. Users can also download this information in PDF form, both with and without the company letterhead. As you can see on the screen, the complete company information is downloaded in PDF format with the Crow letterhead. Users have an option of adding the letterhead in the portal in Upload Letterhead functionality. Users can upload header file, footer file, and preview it. After that, all the documents have an option of being generated with the letterhead. The next functionality is service request. It's a digitalization of daily communication between the client and a service provider. We have an option of creating new request, see pending request, and track all the previous requests in history of requests. We'll go on to create a new request. When we go to create new request, we have an option of selecting the subject from pre-filled variety of subjects available that are used mostly. So we can select a subject. We can enter the details. We have an option of uploading documents for attaching it to a particular service request. As you can see on the portal, the email address of the concerned persons have automatically been popped up. These email address can be deleted for a particular service request, but users cannot add any email address without client verification. This is done to maintain the confidentiality of a service request. If we click on submit, the service request has been created and all the concerned people are notified, both in the portal and via email. As soon as a request is generated, it is automatically moved to pending request tab, where it shows at any moment what all requests have been generated and are pending. Users can view the status of the request. Once a request is approved, declined, or completed, it automatically shifts to History of Request Service Request tab, which allows users to track all the requests generated in the portal. The next feature of the Crow Assist is meetings. Users can generate notice, agenda, minutes of meeting, and share with the concerned people directly from the portal. Users have an option of creating new notice, viewing an existing notice, and sharing the verified notice directly from the portal. If we go on to create a new notice, we have an option to select from the notice type. If we select, let's say, AGM, the details on the email address of the attendees and compliance services will be automatically popped up depending on the type of the notice. We can select date, time, and venue of the meeting. The users can generate this notice both with and without letterhead. Users, once a notice is generated, it is sent for senior level approval if there is any, and once verified, it is sent for client verification. As soon as a notice is verified, the attendees of the notice are notified, both in the portal and via an email. Similar to notice, we have a feature of agenda, where user can again see the existing agenda, share the previously approved agenda directly from the portal, and create new agenda. We can select the type of agenda, enter the details, enter an item of discussion, and send for senior level approval if there is any, and client verification. Again, once a agenda is verified, it is sent to the concerned people, are notified via email and in the portal. The next two hierarchy in the meetings is minutes of meeting. Users can create new minutes of meeting, email the verified previously generated minutes of the meeting from the portal directly. If we go on to create a new minute of meeting, we have an option of selecting the approved notice to which minutes are being added. As soon as a notice is selected, the details have been automatically popped up. We can add invitees, absentees, and we can add the point of discussion, basically meeting details. We can again generate the minutes of the meeting with letterhead and without letterhead. We can save this as draft for future use, preview it before sending it, send for senior level approval if there is any, and once it is verified, it is sent to client for verification. As soon as the client verifies the minutes of the meeting, the attendees are sent an final approved PDF copy both on the portal and in the email. The next functionality of Crow Assist is records. Crow Assist allows users to upload multiple documents and store them for future use. Users can directly create new folders in the portal, upload documents, download them later for their use, rename the folder or file, move a file between the folder, request for deletion, share the file directly from the portal, lock the folder or a file, or add an additional password layer protection. If we go on to upload a document, I can select multiple documents at once and click on upload. The documents will be uploaded in the portal. When a user selects a file and requests for deletion, it is sent to senior level approval. Once a senior level approval is done for a deletion, then only a file or a folder is deleted from the portal. This is done to remove any errors or chances of mishandling of documents in the portal. Users can generate registers both with and without letterhead directly from the portal. They have an option of generating shareholder register, director register, ultimate beneficial owner register from the portal directly. The information in these registers are taken from the verified client master data. Users can directly share this register from the portal itself. As you'll be able to see in the screen, there is a ultimate beneficial owner register with all the details verified by the client. The next functionality of Crow Assist is compliance calendar. Users can view all the upcoming compliance deadline in the portal with the event and date format. Crow Assist has an automated alert system to notify both compliance or company secretary professional and client 30 days and 15 days prior to an upcoming compliance deadline, both in the portal and via an email. The alert system can be customized depending on the user's need. If user wants it to be 5 days before or 1 day before a compliance upcoming deadline, it can be customized according to their choice. The portal allows users and provides access to pre-filled list of ready-to-use templates. They can just go on the template functionality, select the template to download, open the template and modify it according to their own need, and it is ready to be sent to authorities. Apart from these functionalities demonstrated to you in Crow Assist, Crow provides an IT and advisory help desk to each of its clients for onboarding as well as making the clients familiar with the portal during their usage. Thank you. That was me for the demonstration purpose. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me in the Q&A session.
I believe it has addressed the matter. So we apologize for some of the technical glitches that some of you have faced, but thank you very much for attending, and please use the contact details provided to get in touch with us for any further clarification. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.